Today we're going to be looking at Freemasons on the dark web. This video is about to be extremely interesting because you are never going to guess what I found. First, what are Freemasons? A lot of people believe that the Freemasons are a part of the Illuminati and that the Illuminati controls the entire world. On top of that, people believe that the Illuminati worships Satan so that way that they can keep their control, power, and most importantly, maintain their greed. So today, I went browsing on the dark web and look what I came across. I'm on the dark web and somebody said accessing the Freemasons website. He then provides a link. Once we're on the website, it tells me to hover over this and click on the restricted area. Now there's a button that says enter restricted area. Once I enter this, bam, there's a username and password. I guess this guy hacked into the website because he provides the username and password and I just entered them here and then watch this. Bam, we're logged in. This website literally shows everything that's inside of the handbook, including the answers to some sort of test. And apparently this site contains PDFs of rituals. Make sure to like and follow because I'm going to expose the secret. Today we're going to be looking at Freemasons on the dark web. Welcome to part 2 of that video. Wow, that video sparked major controversy and today we're going to do the same exact thing. Do I personally believe in all of these? Not really. It is really interesting nonetheless to kind of share about some of the conspiracy theories that these people believe. I will say though, if I wasn't onto something, why would I get as many death threats as I did? I mean, I got thousands of death threats on my Instagram, TikTok comments, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, I got it. But you guys should know by now, that's not going to stop me, so I'm going to show you what I found today. If you remember from part 1, I logged into a website that somebody gave me on the dark web. Someone there on the thread, I guess, apparently leaked the login information, and I literally just signed in and I got in. But I was viewing it, and I found this book called Morgan's Expose of Freemasonry, written by Captain William Morgan. Quick Google search, and this is who he is. Now remember this name. William Morgan was apparently a master mason, which I guess is really top tier, and he wrote a book exposing all the secrets. What happened to William Morgan? In 1827, a badly decomposed body washed up on the shore. Before his death, the Masons had a $1,000 bounty on his head. And follow for part 3. Today, we're going to be looking at Freemasons on the dark web. Welcome to part 3 of the video. If you haven't seen part 1 and 2, go check them out really quick. Apparently, there was a member named William Morgan in the 1800s who was a really top tier member of the Freemasons. I know the Freemasons aren't this super secret society because people can join them every single day. I'm not necessarily trying to expose those kind of people. I'm going for the top tier members. It's just a conspiracy theory, by the way. Now let's talk about his disappearance. He was writing this book exposing all of these super dark rituals that these top tier members would do. The Freemasons didn't like that they were writing these books, so they literally put a $1,000 bounty on his head. Word for word, they said, we are giving $1,000 to somebody who can tell us his whereabouts. You might not think $1,000 is a lot, but this is the 1800s we're talking about. Quick Google search tells us that it's about $20,000 in today's money. Why would these Freemasons put a $20,000 bounty on somebody's head if he didn't have some sort of information? Even the sheriff of Niagara County was removed from office for his help in the disappearance of him. 3 men were put on trial for the disappearance, but all of their charges suddenly dropped.
Here's another movie recommendation. Sightless is a movie about a woman who loses her vision from a vicious attack. She has no idea who attacked her and she wakes up in the hospital and she can't see, which really freaks her out because why wouldn't that freak you out? She's brought to an apartment that was bought for her and she has a nurse that comes every day and checks on her and hangs out with her. Everything gets a little wonky when she hears her 2 neighbors fighting and the woman comes over and tells her not to trust anybody. Keep in mind, she cannot see. As the movie goes on, you find out that she can't trust anything, anyone, or even where she is. What I really liked about this movie is that they show you what she's thinking in her head. The way that she's visualizing her apartment, the sky, and the color of a bird is presented a certain way. But when somebody corrects her and puts the right image in her mind, everything changes. You only get to see what she knows. Warning, this movie does start off a little slow and it takes a while to, get there, but the ending is definitely worth it in my opinion. If you guys want to watch it, it is a Netflix movie, so you can only find it on Netflix. Enjoy streaming!
I had just turned 17 and was still quite innocent at the time. Working at a bar and serving alcohol is lawful in England, but drinking alcohol is not. I worked in a working men's club with a mix of middle-aged and older members, most of whom were really pleasant. I was pretty proficient at selling bingo tickets twice a week for my father's cousin. On Saturdays, my father would join me for a drink with my older sister in the main bar, which faced my booth, while they played competitive darts. On this particular night, there was a middle-aged man who was average in appearance, a touch overweight, but otherwise unremarkable. He spent the whole first round of the ticket sales at the fruit machine across the bar, sometimes glancing across at me. In the second round, he approached me and inquired about what I was selling, how bingo worked, and so on. Despite the fact he had never played before, he bought some tickets and offered to buy me a drink. I declined and informed him that I was under the age of 17. At this point, I was feeling a little apprehensive and didn't want to drink from a stranger. He then offered me a cola, congratulating me a little too harshly, which I declined and continued on my way to the main hall to assist with the game. He stood against the wall next to me for the third time and just watched me work. He'd waited until the line had settled down before boasting about how much money he had and how he wanted to be my sugar daddy, complimenting me on my figure, boobs, and butt, and so on. I was stuck in my booth and I was running late for the main hall, so the concert chairman came out and asked what was up. This guy claimed we were just chatting. I apologized to the chairman, who escorted me into the hall and said he could tell I was nervous, so I told him everything. He informed the bartenders, who informed my supervisor, my father's cousin. He didn't even wait for me to return to my table after the last round of ticket sales. He grabbed my ass, telling me how he wanted to be my sugar daddy again, tried to shove me against the wall, and was immediately turned around. Not only by my father, but also by my boss and plenty of other employees and customers who had heard and saw what happened. He began to argue his innocence until my father, who had not so graciously introduced himself, interrupted him. My father punched him in the nose, blood streaming down his face, and everyone scooped him up like a piece of wood and tossed him out the locked door. After that, I didn't see him again. Everyone dropped in on me to see if I was okay. My sister took over the rest of my shift, and I bought so much alcohol that I had a 2-month free bar tab.
Am I the asshole for not acknowledging that I have a sister? 9 years ago, we found out that my mother had a 5-year affair with someone she met from work. My parents divorced and she went to get remarried to the man, Greg. My mother moved her husband and his daughter from a previous marriage into our house, and I lived with them before I left for college. I remained in minimal contact with them until Kylie, my stepsister, joined my company and started working in my department. Nobody was aware of our relation since we had different last names, and I told Kylie not to disclose anything about this. Last Friday, while clocking into work with a few of my coworkers, Kylie came up to me and asked if I could come home for a family dinner. By lunch, our entire department was gossiping about it, and Kylie would confirm their suspicions. Fed up with all of this, I told the department that I do not have a sister. Things died down at work, and I agreed to make it to dinner considering it was my mother's birthday. At dinner, I was bombarded with questions about why I refused to acknowledge my sister at work and refused to even call her my sister. My stepfather Greg told me I was a petty bully for embarrassing Kylie at work and that he has had enough of me mistreating his daughter. He told my mother that my misbehavior was a result of my parents' coddling. He demanded that I address him as my father and Kylie as my sister, and to tell everyone at work that too. At this point, I had enough of his relentless chastising, so I told him that all he signed was a marriage certificate and not adoption papers, so I am not his daughter, therefore will not be addressing him as my father. I brought up the fact that I know my dad has created an account for my college fund and paid child support each month, but they used the funds to purchase a new car and to pay off credit card debt. I always found it weird that Kylie never had to get a job to go to college and could afford to stay in a nice apartment during her years there. Kylie was crying by the end of the argument. My mother broke down and yelled at me to stop, while Greg called me an ungrateful bitch. I told them that if they only had the capacity to acknowledge and care for one daughter, then do not expect me to be in Kylie's life as her big sister, and left the house. I guess Kylie posted about it on social media because friends and family called me up. Some told me I was being harsh and unfair to Greg and my mother, who took care of me, as well as Kylie, who had nothing to do with this, while some understood where I was coming from. So am I the asshole for my reaction?